We had a whole house. Now we have nothing.
That was our chimney where Santa comes and now it's gone.
Everything that we built here to just be gone.
Everyone has lost everything here.
I have to start all over again. I can't.
We have fire up Hastings Ranch, multiple structures involved.
Having the family is the most important thing.
A nightmare that no one can wake up from. That's what they're saying in LA. At least 11 people are dead and even more missing. A chunk of land the size of San Francisco has been destroyed. Some of the most beautiful land in the world. Parts of Pacific Palisades look like Hiroshima after the atomic bomb. Entire communities decimated. In Altadena, about a dozen homes are left in a neighborhood of 5,000 people.
Dude, I find this so strange when they look at a natural disaster and then compare it to man-made horrors beyond comprehension. But you like the man-made horrors beyond comprehension. Like it's so weird. It's such a strange thing to be like, yeah, it looks like Hiroshima. And it was good when it happened to Hiroshima.
People. 3 major fires are still uncontained as crews are bracing for another weekend of the powerful Santa Ana winds. On the streets, it's turning into the wild, wild west. Looters on scooters ransacking homes. Thieves are dashing through rubble and ash.
Dude, it's so funny. Like, this is half the chatters think this, by the way, according to all of the people that I have responded to, at least. Half of the chatters in this community are just like, you don't understand, dude. When the looting starts, the shooting starts, brother. You're crazy.
Ash with flat screens. Some of them disguised as fire officials and utility workers. The looting is so out of hand that some residents are scared to leave their burned out homes. The governor, Newsom, says looting will not be tolerated. These communities have suffered enough. Well, unless they loot less than $950, then Gavin doesn't mind. One of the Winklevoss twins called out Newsom saying this, quote, "You and your party have been tolerating looting for years. You normalize this behavior and lawlessness. You are a disgrace. Resign now." It's a free-for-all in LA. Every man for themselves, literally. Yesterday, local residents had to take down a vagrant with a blowtorch. They witnessed him setting fire to old Christmas trees and garbage cans. Neighbors called 911, and before the police arrived, they detained him with zip ties and a rope. A good old-fashioned citizen's arrest. Here's LAPD.
What we know right now is that the incident started here, and about 20 minutes, 30 minutes later, a suspect was detained over in Woodland Hills area by citizens.
So someone purposely set the Kenneth fire?
At this time, that's what we believe, yes.
Do you know how or why they did that?
That I don't know.
Is this a crime scene right now?
Yes.
Dude, my thing is, if you have an institution, an organization like the police department that is, you know, very invested in looting narratives and very invested in like showing that they're doing a great job, if that police department says there's not enough evidence to suggest that this person is an arsonist, when they could have just as easily lied, as they do time and time again, if there's enough evidence to stick on a person, then that person might not have actually committed an arson. You know what I mean? Like, that's it. Because cops detain people all the time. The very fact that they're still running with this idea that this guy was definitely an arsonist. And I'm not saying that there wasn't any arson or anything like that. I'm simply stating that I do not know. But the way I see it is like, if this dude had any evidence that the police could pin on him for being an arsonist, then they would have kept him in detention for the suspicion that he did the arson. Is Fox News saying the police lied? I don't understand what Fox News is saying. I think they're just going along with what the initial suspicion was.
So everything's closed off.
It's being investigated as a crime.
Police brought him down to the station and a few hours later released him back onto the streets. They said there was no probable cause to charge him with arson, even though there was a half a dozen witnesses who saw him setting things on fire and the guy to blowtorch on him when they...
Like, what is the argument here? That cops want to let, like, arsonists go? Like, what is happening? I can't... Oh, my God. Oh, my God. We are losing our minds, dude. I don't know why this dude is biking around with a blowtorch. And I understand why those civilians thought that he was an arsonist. I get it. if you see a random dude on a bike with a blowtorch, you're like, that, you know, you're not, your first inclination is not, oh, he's probably using it to do dabs, okay? Especially when there's a wildfire going on. But the difference is, I understand the motivation of the police department in getting a ginormous W. Can you imagine how great of a justification it is for your expansive budgets if you caught an arsonist? Are you kidding me? I mean, that's a fantastic, major dub, massive W. So they have all the more reason to say this person is an arsonist. And yet they're not saying that. Instead, they're saying that they don't have enough evidence to suggest that this guy is an arsonist. So for Fox News to make it seem as though, like, nah, the woke police let this guy go, like, you're living on an alternative universe.
They arrested him. That's not probable cause. So what was he doing with the blowtorch? Lighting a blunt? If this wasn't a homeless guy, I'm not sure, because homeless accounted for over half of the fires in LA.
Wait, what?
Based on that statistic, there's a strong probability that a homeless guy burned the city down. But we're waiting for the investigation to play out. Homes have been completely toasted, and some people say it feels intentional. Here's...
Oh my God. Dude, the police are woke. It's actually the homeless. There's no evidence to suggest that this was man-made at all, but we're just going to go with that. Like, that is crazy. I'm not trying to be woke here, okay? I'm not. I'm simply urging people to exercise critical thinking and caution. That's it. You know what my biases are, but I'm not applying them in this situation. I'm telling you right now, we do not know. We will eventually find out. There will be a tremendous amount of investigation conducted into what started these fires. I know that because I've seen previous wildfires where similar suspicions were raised by the very same charlatans. But as far as like looking at the story, yeah, I thought initially when I saw a dude on a bike with a blowtorch being apprehended by random citizens, yeah, I was like, oh shit, it might actually be an arson. At least one of these fires might actually be an arson. That's an understandable assessment to make in this circumstance. Not to say that all of the fires are caused by arson or they're caused by homeless people or undocumented migrants or whatever. I'm not saying that at all, but it could have very well been the case. But then the police immediately came out and revealed that they did not have any evidence to suggest that this person had caused a fire at all. It's over at that point. Like, what are we doing? You see someone with a blowtorch, but did you see it? Or was it just what you heard? No, we saw it, dude. What are you talking about? There's footage. Like, yes, it is a dude with a blowtorch. Hasan, you know the location of the Kenneth fire was an ember from the Palisades. The wind was going in the opposite direction, and they're nowhere near each other. It was right above Hidden Hills. Honestly, no doubt in my mind he was an arsonist. You need evidence in this country, though. Brother, like, do you think the police would let someone go if there was any inclination that they were an arsonist? This person was an arsonist? Jesse W. photo. Oh my God, it's Jesse Waters. It's Jesse Waters' photo. Oh my God, it's Jesse Waters' account. Jesse Waters, a 9-month subscriber. Now, here's the thing. When I saw this video initially, I thought, yeah, they got an arsonist. I get it. I understand why you would think that. It makes sense. It looks like a duck. It walks like a duck. You're like, oh, it's a duck. But then the duck hunter turns around and tells you it's not a duck. What are you supposed to do? Be like, nah, he still did it. I know it. Like, you can't. What if it's just bad policing? Bad policing is not what you think it is. If you think letting a guy like this go is bad policing. First of all, he's brown. If he was a white dude in an Acura or above, okay, and they let him go, that would be bad policing, like the Ted Bundy case, very famous case, where cops just like let him walk past him because he was a handsome white gentleman. That would be bad policing. Bad policing in other circumstances is keeping people detained under faulty evidence or no evidence whatsoever. Bad policing doesn't go in the direction of like letting especially black or brown criminals or suspected criminals escape. Bad policing doesn't go in this direction. It goes in the opposite direction, is what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying carrying torches around in the open is not sus. I think it's sus too. What are you talking about? I know. I'm recognizing that. Anyway, the point I was making is that when there are multiple major wildfires taking place with 80 to 100 mile winds that are swinging telephone poles and power lines wildly in the direction of overgrown shrubbery that is right up in the ass cheeks of those power lines as you see electrical sparks and you immediately go, must be arson. It's like, that feels a little wild. That feels like a jump that you are taking. Okay. Literally woke warrior on a natural cause. I just don't think the police would lie like that, though. They're instructed and they swear an oath. Wait, you're baiting, right? There's a term for it. It's called test-a-lying. Yeah, police would never lie under oath. I'm a woke warrior. You're right.
Half a dozen witnesses who saw him setting things on fire and the guy to blowtorch on him when they arrested him. That's not probable cause. So what was he doing with the blowtorch? Lighting a blunt?
Since I thought, oh, damn.
Anyway,
based on that statistic,
he then follows up by saying, like, from 2021, homelessness-related fires made up 54% of all fires that the department responded to.
There's a strong probability.
He assumes that guy is a homeless person and also an arsonist, which is crazy.
That a homeless guy burned the city down. But we're waiting for the investigation to play out.
But the funniest assumption, in my opinion, here is that the cops are woke and let him go.
Been completely toasted, and some people say it feels intentional. Here's Mel Gibson.
It's very sad. And there were many things, gone.
Yeah. Here's further evidence that will defend my point here. Further evidence by a man who I can only explain as going through a mental health episode, a very public mental health episode.
On in the blaze that, I've thought about since I thought, oh.
Here's famous racists going through it in broad daylight.
Oh, damn, that's too bad. But, works of art. Photographs, rare books, old books. Some as old as, 1600, it's like crazy.
Irreplaceable.
And irreplaceable stuff. California has a lot of problems that sort of baffle the mind as far as why they do things. And then in the events like this, you sort of look, well, is it on purpose?
All these fires should have been contained within 24 hours. It's the duty of a politician to prepare for the worst. And everyone saw this fire coming. So how well was California prepared? Last week, the reservoir in Pacific Palisades was completely empty. There was no water. It could have been filled with 117 million gallons of water.
Everyone saw it coming, but there's no way it could have started on its own, and it has to be an arson. Yeah, by the way, those two things are directly contradictory to one another, but it doesn't matter because it's just a barrage of misinformation. I feel like at this point, right-wingers specifically love the game of it. You know what I mean? They don't even, as long as there's like racial animus that you can engage in, and as long as you are just saying whatever is not true, that's cool. It's like they're not even trying to accidentally arrive at the correct conclusion. They're just actively trying to undermine the truth.
Instead, it was dry and closed for repairs. They closed the...
Like, doesn't it shock people that these wildfires happen and the right wing has said that the responsible party is gay firefighters and DEI or surplus boots that were sent to Ukraine 3 years ago, like extra boots, or it was actually the reservoir that was empty, even though it seems like, according to LA Water Management, that there was sufficient water, but the issue was with water pressure in general, even though fire hydrants are not built or designed to combat a fire of this magnitude. And that it was actually, we don't know what it was caused by, but it was actually caused by Guatemalan immigrant criminal arsonist homeless people. And also that we have to destroy the natural habitat of the Sacramento waterways so that we can open up new golf courses and do more agricultural production in Southern California. All of that. Or weather machines. Or Goku.
Pacific Palisades Reservoir during the season when the Santa Ana winds blow the hardest. And now the whole town's barbecued. And LA's water czar knew it. She basically watched them drain it. That's according to the Daily Mail. Janice Quiones gets paid $750,000 a year. Wonder how she got that job. Gavin Newsom also cut the fire budget.
What is the implication is what? That she got the job by being not white or something?
by $100 million last year, and then vetoed a bill that would have given fire department more seasonal workers when they were short-staffed, like now. L.A. Mayor Karen Bass cut her fire department's budget too. L.A. couldn't even get a simple evacuation alert right. Last night, the whole county panicked.
We're just mapping out here are under mandatory evacuations, and obviously you can hear all of our phones are going off some type of alert, an evacuation warning, it looks like.
Yeah, my alert reads,
Yeah.
This is an emergency message from the LA County Fire Department. An evacuation warning has been issued in your area.
Yeah.
This
is what this looks like.
Remain vigilant of any threats and be ready to evacuate. Gather loved ones, pets, and supplies. Continue to monitor local weather news and the webpage alertla.org for more information.
Yeah, so these alerts come, based on where you are.
Looks like on my phone.
Yeah, and here we are in West LA, and we're getting an alert. We'll have to look into why.
Guess what? False alarm. No need to evacuate. The city said,
Woke DEI, false alarm.
Sorry, it was an accident. They're going to give people heart attacks. People are leaping into their EVs and speeding out of town. Oops, never.
Why are you defending this? Look at what our hometown looks like. Defending what? Do you think I'm defending wildfires or local government incompetence? I've criticized it plenty. As a matter of fact, me criticizing Jesse Waters' idiotic commentary here is quite literally me continuing to defend the truth. I don't defend anything but what the correct assessment is. Is it incompetence that Jesse Waters is pointing out? Or is he randomly making insane speculations about how it's Guatemalan migrants that are homeless that are causing these fires to happen? How is that actually pointing to the incompetence?
Never mind. Nothing. I mean, nothing has gone right. The fire chief of LA, Kristen, says the mayors failed her.
Did the city of Los Angeles fail you and your department and our city?
It's my job to stand up as a chief and exactly say, justifiably, what the fire department needs to operate to meet the demands of the community.
Did they fail you?
That is our job, and I tell you, that's why I'm here. So let's get us what we need so our firefighters can do their jobs.
Did they fail you?
Yes.
Over the last 3 years,
And now the only truthful aspect of this comes in, and it's exclusively used as a weapon against, like, the Democratic Party and woke DEI. I guess they were talking about how she was a DEI hire, but then once she started actually criticizing Karen Bass for mismanagement and underfunding the fire department, when obviously there was some critical budget needs that they had, all of a sudden she's no longer a woke gay lesbian.
Been clear that the fire department needs help. We can no longer sustain where we are.
But for some reason, and I think we know why, the mayor and the governor are still getting a pass for most of the legacy press. Listen to a governor who's grappled with his share of disasters.
If Newsom was a Republican, you guys would you would have him nailed to the wall for what they're doing over there. When we had the Surfside Tower collapse.
You seem to not understand what living in a country full of Nazis means. Yes, you're right. I'm totally oblivious to that. Thank you, Ginny, for Palestine. I have no idea what it looks like.
I had
even though I cover it every day.
People from the Washington Post trying to blame me for it immediately without having any facts. That mayor of LA, if that were a Republican mayor, I could only imagine what that would do. I mean, the fires are at high risk and you try to go to Africa?
But Gavin Newsom says, none of this is my fault. The real battle we need to wage here is against the people blaming me.
We've got to deal with this misinformation. There were hurricane force winds of mis and disinformation, lies. People want to divide this country, and we're going to have to address that as well. And it breaks my heart as people are suffering and struggling that we're up against those hurricane forces as well. And that's just a point of personal privilege that I share that with you because it infects real people that are out there, people I meet every single day, people the mayor's been meeting with, and they're having conversations.
This fire has unleashed a fury in Hollywood. Actors and actresses who would never dare attack a Democrat because it could cost them their jobs are lacing into Gavin. Here's actress Sarah Foster. Quote, "We pay the highest taxes in California. Our fire hydrants were empty. Our vegetation was overgrown. Brush not cleared. Our reservoirs were emptied by our governor because tribal leaders wanted to..."
This is just a rehashing of all of the right-wing talking points. Some of it is true, and some of it is just like silly nonsense that Donald Trump primed people into thinking is the real reason.
Save fish. Our fire department budget was cut by our mayor, but thank God drug addicts are getting their drug kits. LA Mayor and Gavin Newsom resign. Your far-left policies have ruined our state and also our party. Even Morning Joe can't defend this. And they've defended everything, and I mean everything.
We don't know the exact causes for the complete failure of government to be able to protect these homes. I don't think we can say it's a smelt alone. We don't know what it is, but I do think it's going to be like Hurricane Katrina. I mean, the infrastructure has been slashed. It's hard to hear people say in one of the richest cities in the world that, oh, we don't have enough water to protect people's homes.
We're witnessing the collapse of liberal society. Everything's on fire, falling apart at the same time because of stupidity, corruption, and radical priorities. Reservoirs are bone dry, but California Democrats are spending millions on DEI, migrants, and drug addicts. Now, Primetime tried to save California. Remember the last couple of years? We finally threw up our hands and said, we can't save it if they don't want to be saved. After 30,000 acres have been torched and the fire's still not contained, in the capital of Sacramento, they just called an emergency session to battle Trump.
Is now the right time to have a special legislative session on allocating money to fight Trump in a way that you could already do without a special legislative session?
So I'm here to address these.
Yeah, when it happens in red states, it's the act of God. When it happens in blue states, it's DEI and woke liberal policies, and also gay immigrants that are homeless, that are doing arson and also looting while doing arson. They're doing arson and looting at the same time.
These wildfires.
And sometimes it's actually happening in red states because of blue states that have weather machines that are blowing the winds in the direction of the red states to kill them.
This is a historic wildfire. This is a historic event. These wildfires, as I mentioned, are going to be quite possibly some of the worst wildfires and disasters in the state.
While people are trying to understand what's going on and are worried about disaster relief, worried about the ability to get homeowners insurance, your chamber gavelled into a special legislative session to prepare for Donald Trump. Again, is now the right time for that?
So certainly our focus right now is Speaker Ashley. At this moment, my colleagues and I, we are acting with great urgency to ensure that we're providing much needed relief.
Liberal society's gone mad. People have been institutionalized for less. California has been trying for years to destroy Western civilization. Well, this is what it looks like. They finally...
What are you saying? Dude, He's so close to the 14 words, dude. Oh, my Lord. We are already in it, and it's going to get so much worse. California's been trying to destroy Western civilization. California is perhaps one of the greatest propaganda machines for the very concept of Western civilization.
Did it. Primetime's calling for a federal takeover of California. When a state becomes this dangerous and the government becomes this reckless, where the lives of millions of American citizens are being destroyed, their homes obliterated, their infrastructure annihilated. We can't wait for a recall election. This is an issue of national security. This is a public health emergency. We know they have public health emergency powers. Remember the pandemic? Invoke them. The elected officials in California can't be trusted. They're criminally negligent. Look at what we're seeing. This is a war scene. And if anyone thinks that people who are responsible for this catastrophe are going to somehow rebuild.
I think, for the record, I think this is a pretty decent template for what is to come. Climate change, supercharged extreme weather conditions lead to once in a lifetime, once in a century natural disasters that are going to become more and more commonplace. And in the process, when it happens in a blue state, they're going to say it's because of woke homosexuals. And when it happens in a red state, they're going to either say it's because of God, an act of God, or still like a weather machine or whatever. It's a purposeful distraction away from the actual reasons as to why these things seemingly happen more frequently. And that's it. Like, you're going to see this more and more, especially because these kinds of natural disasters are going to happen way more frequently due to weather patterns changing dramatically. That's it. This is the template. This is what they're going to keep doing over and over again. You're going to see a lot worse instances of this. It will probably lead to vigilante justice and a lot more violence dished out against people who take matters in their own hands, who see their fellow neighbors as the villains, as to why these things are happening.
You're out of your mind.
That's where we're at.
If they're left in charge to rebuild LA, they're going to steal the money. Nothing's going to get rebuilt. Everyone's going to get screwed.
Are you saying that those in charge of California are climate change deniers? No. I'm saying that those in charge of California are even worse than the typical right-wing climate change denier, because they will look at climate change and go, I see it, I hear it, we trust the science, and then continue not taking the initiative because they are capitalists. This is the consistent pattern with the Democratic Party. And before people say, well, they're better than the Republicans, yes, I recognize that they are better than the Republicans. You are absolutely correct. But they still very obviously do not take the necessary precautions. That's why the incompetence and the mismanagement from the LA County is very important to point to here. If you have money in the budget, but you're cutting the fire department's resources when they're desperately demanding more money to combat these sorts of disasters before they occur, and giving extra funds to the tune of $130 million to the police department, when the LA Fire Department is asking for 71 additional people to hire, and you end up forcing them to cut their existing labor force by 30 people, while simultaneously you're like, we really, really, really need to hire more cops. It doesn't matter if you're a climate change denier or not. It doesn't matter. They're just marginally better than the Republican Party in terms of trying to manage this.
This is biblical level destruction. And the city of LA is hosting the Olympics in 4 years. There's no way we can showcase LA to the world. A full federal takeover is needed. Invoke the Stafford Act. The state's overwhelmed. Martial law might have to be declared. Primetime praise for the poor people of LA, and hope we can put out this fire.